G'day, folks. Before I start, I thought I'd make you aware that my 2022 AFL Phantom Draft is now on espn.com.au/AFL, so make sure you check that out. And other pieces that may be of interest are my 5 underrated 2022 draft prospects. And you've also got my power rankings here. So, in today's video and covering the top 100 prospects, I won't labour too much over the top roughly 20 picks. So, if you want more, depth of information on them, you can just visit this link here. Okay, so here's my long awaited top 100 power rankings. So, of course, these rankings are ordered, but as I've already mentioned, I'll skim through the top 20. And given I'm quite unwell, I've got pneumonia, I've got COVID, so I'll try and keep this pretty brief today, at least by my standards. So, but that's why there's been the delay. But thank you for those that got behind me in my previous power rankings videos. I asked for 50 likes and I got 203. So I did say that if I got 50 plus likes, I'd make this video. So rain, hail, or shine, I'm making this video. So here we are today. So if you appreciate my efforts, make sure you give a like. It would be much appreciated. But I'm a man of my word. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So here we are. Okay, so my top 2, they've been there all year. And again, with the top 20, just check through my power rankings. But some points of interest. So Casey Voss was one that dropped down my rankings in the last month. But again, he remains in that top 22 tier, I suppose, to put it that way. So still believe in his talent, but there's a few others I wanted just above him inside that top 20. So that's why he dropped out. But one name that look, I could well be proven wrong on is Ed Allen. So he's one where, given in the past couple of years, he's grown 20 centimeters and gained 20 kilos. Look, with those that really develop late, they tend, on average, to have by far and away the greatest upside. So what a lot of people in the talent ID industry get very wrong is they look at attributes and think, okay, this guy's got these points of difference, therefore they've got upside. Well, what I'm looking for instead, if I really want to measure upside, is, well, those that grow particularly late and gain those extra kilos and really develop as a footballer, in particular their draft year, in addition to that extra height and stuff, well, that's a huge accelerant. So let's take an Ed Allen this year. On actual performance, I wouldn't consider him a top 40 pick. But because of that upside, look, here's someone where he could be a top 5 player from this draft, and he could prove me very wrong to the upside. So, look, that is one I'm very aware of, and I really wanted to make a point of mentioning today. Joe Richards. So I wasn't able to include him in my rankings because I haven't seen him. I don't watch anything outside of the under-18s, the state leagues. So if you're in such and such local competitions, I will not cite you. So I've seen the highlights of him, looks good, but if I was part of a recruiting team, I would be deferring to my colleagues. But this is where I feel like I would probably rate him if I had seen him, but speculative, and therefore, he's not part of these rankings strictly. So I just wanted to make that point. One that definitely won't go this early is Cooper Harvey. But I really like his play. He's one of those match winners that a St Kilda type of team would really benefit from, where he's got the ball winning, he's a strong mark, very strong one-on-one, but he's got good skills, wins the footy. So there's really a lot to work with, and when he's been playing good footy. So I think he'll be one of the draft bargains this year. And I'll just stop for players that are of unique interest or maybe won't be seen as high on other draft boards. You've got Jaden Magor and Archie Lovelock. They're both really talented forwards who did great things in the latter part of the year in the SA under-18s. I think they're both grossly underrated. Magor we might see go maybe mid-draft, potentially maybe late, so he'll represent value. And someone like a Lovelock, he's not a certainty to be picked, but on performance, I certainly rate him. So that's why he's here on this list. But both very talented forwards. And can also push up through the midfield in both cases. And I should also mention with him, Magor will in his last 2 games kicked 11 goals, so really hits the scoreboard. Had 5 and 6. Um, some that won't go this high on draft day. Adam D'Aloia. Look, he's more of a late slash rookie, honestly. But on performance being the SA MVP, the performances on the board across the years, I think he's very much worth it. But because he's that sort of, I guess, if you want to call it vanilla ball winner who, I guess, has the ball winning, has the defensive stuff, but doesn't necessarily have the tricks, well, yeah, look, I think he'll drop as a result of that. And similar story with a Kobe Ryan, where, look, is an absolute massive accumulator, where he was finding more of the footy than we saw from Jason Horne-Francis in the Sandful at league level. So he can find the footy and he wins it at a good rate, but again, probably doesn't have those tricks that a lot of others do. So that's why he'll be rated quite a lot lower. And again, he's no certainty to be picked either, but really wanted to make a point of pointing him out here. Max Noble you probably won't see on too many draft boards, but and look, honestly, his play hasn't been all that fantastic, but there are those occasional glimpses where, look, he can get behind the ball, read it, intercept a little bit here and there. But what really appeals with me is his late growth. So he's a super tall ruckman now. So he keeps growing and he's probably around that roughly 207 centimetre mark, possibly still growing. So when you've got a ruckman that tall and they're still growing late, that's a good indicator that they could, in the future, with time and development, come good. So that's why, as a speculative pick around this point, I'm pretty confident going that route. And what you'll see now that is very unique to my draft board that you won't see anywhere else is you've got a heap of mature ages here. So some out of other clubs. So you've got a bit of a variety here. But the point of this is, if you look back through any draft, pick a year, doesn't matter. Basically, from pick 30, if it's a strong draft, probably around pick 35, mature ages comfortably, on average, outperform just general draft age prospects. So, yeah, look, given that, I've really got a heavy concentration of prospects here where, look, really all these guys can step into a team and play right away. And in the case of, I guess, just the general mature ages, well, they're immediate players, but they're types where if the right team picks them, they can be best 22 players for AFL purposes. So that's why I've got those types. But the likes of Liam Jones, look, I think he could play for another, maybe it's 2 to 3 years. And look, I think we're going to see more good footy out of him. He was one of the best key defenders in his last year. So as long as he's kept his conditioning up in his year off, well, yeah, I think he's still got more good footy in him. Connor McKenna, a lot of people are sleeping on him, but he's someone where I really loved his run and drive from defence. I think it was his second last year with Essendon, he had the third highest kick rating in the competition, but then you also had the run as well. So that combination of that run and kick is the best there is. So obviously has flaws in the other respects in his game, but I really rate him, and I think he'll add to Brisbane's best 22. So, my opinion, others might disagree, but look, it's a wait and see. Liam Shields, look, is obviously retired, but the plan is that he'll be joining North Melbourne as a rookie. So, I really like that pick for a number of reasons. And look, he only has to play a year or two, but the value will be tremendous, and here's why. So, when we look at all those 3+ time Hawthorn players or 3+ time premiership players from Hawthorn that have moved to other clubs, they've either resulted in premierships, or in the case of the likes of Hodge and Birchall moving to moving to Brisbane, well, they've resulted in going from dead last to a perennial top 4 team, really. So, given that, well, what's the potential impact of a Shields? Well, yeah, look, it'll help obviously supercharge the development of the youth, but then it'll help with creating the buy-in. It'll just help all round, and it's that sort of formula that creates success. And in a previous piece on ESPN, I covered that in terms of what North Melbourne should be looking at. So I really like that pickup for them. So I'm going to give them appropriate credit accordingly. Here we've got a heap of mature ages. I won't sort of spend too much time going through them, but if you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. But yeah, just given I'm quite unwell, I yeah, don't want this video to drag out too long. McDonald, Tip and Woody, look, I really loved his game with Essendon, but we'll just have to see what sort of condition he gets back into. But yeah, still rate him. Jed Anderson, look, I think he's worth another chance somewhere. And a Boyd Woodcock, although he was with Port Adelaide previously, look, if you saw any of what he was doing in the NEAFL this year, he's a much improved footballer. He's found another level. So he's one who could easily fit into a team needing that sort of mostly mid who can also push forward. And you've got here as well, so Jaden Davey. So again, I'm not going to give myself any credit, and I'm not going to give him a number. And the reason is simple. I haven't seen him play, so can't give myself that sort of credit. But why I've sort of put him in here in this spot is, had I seen him play, this is where I believe I probably would have rated him. So that's the reason for that. And you'll see a lot of players in this range as well that will go quite a lot earlier. So Jasper Fletcher, he'll attract a first round bid. Braden George, he could go first round. Matthew Jefferson could go first round. But with a George, why don't I rate him as highly? Well, he couldn't even find it 10 disposals a game. And with a Jefferson, well, look, you've just got that inconsistency as well, where, look, he had that 7-goal game during the under-18 champs, but he needs to probably develop a few more weapons and is that athletic marking type, but he needs to be able to find more of the footy where it's not just from marks. So he'll have his games where he's getting his 7-8 disposals, and it's just not enough. He's not involved enough other than those instances he's hitting the scoreboard. So that's why I have him quite a lot later. And then I've got a few delisted free agents, a few more mature ages. And a few old favourites, so Jackson Callow, so a lot of people will be surprised to see his name there. Why have I included him? Well, the reason is he was used as a key forward for Hawthorn, but I believe if he was to become a key defender, that he has the scope to develop. So that's the move I'd be making with his career from this point onwards. And look, if I'm looking for that stronger body physically, he'd be one I'd be very interested in. Because ultimately, although he's been playing forward, well, if you look at what are the key competencies needed in a key defender, well, you want guys who are strong one-on-one. You want guys who take contested grabs, read it well. Well, they're the things Callow does, and he's a really good ball user and distributor as well from defence. So he's got all the tools to be a key defender, and hence I've included him again. Even though I'm sure I'll get a few people laughing at me for doing that, but hey, if I rate him, I'm going to include him. It's that simple. So Max Michelini, again, he's another who he could attract a first round bid. If not, it'll be early second. But for me, he's just too much of a negating defender. I'd like to see his frequency of intercepts increase and also see him do a bit more damage. Particularly during the under-18 champs, I didn't really find him all that influential. So, my personal view there. So, Sam Gilbey is another who probably goes quite a bit earlier too. Just for those wondering about draft ranges. So, and it's interesting. So at 86 and 88, we've got two players coming into the year who are seen as potential top 5 picks. In Harry Lemmy as a forward who really is just basically a 2-meter lead up forward. That's what his game looks like. So hasn't developed. And then with the Jackson Broadbent, well, we were looking at his game last year, and look, he was a December birthday, and he was playing really good footy for his age. But another where, look, even though he's added weight, he just hasn't improved. So, or certainly not at the rate expected, and other ruckmen have clearly gone past him. So, but look, given he's still young, look, I wanted to give him some credit there. Jason Gilbey, he'll go a lot earlier than this as well. And I just wanted to add a few more names as well, where I look at this as sort of a group that stops at about 105. So, yeah. And for those that made it to the end, you're awesome. And basically what I would say is if you want live updates on both the Monday and the Tuesday of the draft, what I'll do is every pick and every bid I'll just be live tweeting out. So, health permitting at least. So if you haven't already, make sure you get behind me on Twitter, AFL Draft Expert. And also the days following both the first round of the draft and also the rest of the draft, I guess you can call it. I'll be doing full reviews of all the picks. So I'll be both tweeting it on Twitter, or you can just check espn.com.au/AFL for those upcoming pieces, which are always good fun. But anyway, folks, see you in the next video.